This conference will now be recorded.
Let me explain you the necessity and the importance of the context API. The context API is available in functional component as well as in class component. What is the necessity of it? Why should I use a context in React components? Let us explain you diagrammatically so that you will get some clarity. What is this context API and all? Right. We know that for every component, app.js is the root component. Okay, app.js is the root component. We have some data declared in the app.js. For example, now you can check this. We have app. In this app.js, I'm defining one variable const name is equal to something called rom or some. Oh, sorry. So here I'm taking const some variable username equal to some value. RAM. Okay, this is the value I have in the. Let us save the file as app.js. This file name is app.js is the file. Okay, right. So in the app.js, we have declared a variable like this. So we know that all the components which we created, they should be available into the app.js. Once a component is created, you should import that component into app.js. There is no other way. Definitely you have to import that into app.js. For example, let me create some hierarchy here. Try to see all of you. I'm going to make something like this. Let us assume you created so many components. So here I have one component. Oh, sorry. Let us go for it. Try to see. This is component A. Let us assume I'm going to diagrammatically like this. I will explain you the things clearly. This is component B. Let us assume this is component C. Okay, whatever it may be, every component should be imported into app.js kada finally. So this is going to be imported into app.js finally. Okay, and this is also imported into app.js finally, and this is also imported into app.js finally. All are going to be imported into app.js. Yes or not, right? So let me provide some names also to these components. What I want to do, this is going to be component A, component, oh sorry, control B, component A. Okay, let us create like this. This is going to be component B. Okay, this is component B, and this is going to be component C. Let us assume whatever it may be, we created like this. Understand? I will explain you the concept. Okay, right. Maybe here it may be like this also, right? Let me take one more component. I'm going to take component B, that is component C. This is component D. Let me take one thing. This is component C, not B and D. Let me take the component something like this. 1 minute. Um, okay, this is going to be component C, component D, as well as I have some other components also. Component E, you may have something called component F, something like this. You may created many components, right? I mean, what I want to say, the hierarchy will be like this. Let us assume this component D is imported into component B is imported into component app.js, right? So now this is component E and this is component F. Now you can see what is my intention here. Let us assume this component E is imported into component C. This component F is imported into component E. So we can import one component to one component, right? Whatever it may be, this is possible. So here also the component D is imported into component B. The component B is imported into app.js. So this is what exactly the thing we are able to see. For example, you have this username, right? If you want to pass this username into component B or component D, how can we pass it normally? By using props, right? By using props. We are sending the props from app.js to component B, component B to component D. Okay, now whatever the username you are having here, this username I want to send to component F directly. Is it possible to send it directly? No, it is not possible, Andy. So first you have to send that username component by using props to component C. From component C, we have to send props again. Component E, from component E to component F, you have to send like this. This is the way only you have. My question, can we access this username variable directly into component F or directly into component D? No, you cannot access it. You have to, there is a way. For example, I will show you 1 minute here. We have app.js. This is the app.js file. In app.js file, what you imported? You imported component C. Let us see. This is going to be compo and nt component C you imported. In this, we have a variable called const username is equal to, I'm going to take something called rom. Okay. How can I pass this data to component D directly? So this is going to be component C. And in the component C, let us go and check this. I have one more component called component c.js. This is the file I have there. In this component C, I imported component. What is the component we imported there? In the diagram, component E you imported. In the component E, now you can see the diagram I'm telling you. Component E dot JS, what you imported component F and D. Okay, you imported component F, right? So in the component F, I want to print the values. Now you can check this component. Let us go and check this component f.js. I want to access the username and welcome to username. Can I access the username directly here? Is it possible? So nothing, it is not possible. What you have to do, your component C, to this I have to use some props, right? User equal to username. Again you are getting here, right? If it is a class component, again you have to send the name is equal to this dot props dot name. Understand, this dot props dot props dot user. This is the way you have to send it. Now this is also take user, no problem. The same you are passing to component E. From component E to component F, I have to pass. Again, here you can take user and you can pass this dot props dot something called user. So in this component, we can access the value like this. This dot props dot user. Understand guys here? This is a way. This process is called drill down the props. Drilling down the props. I'm using one word here. Drill down the props. This is the thing we are doing exactly. PROPS, drill down the props. We are passing one component data to other component as a prop. We know that how to transfer the data from one component to other component, right? By using props only. This is what exactly we are doing, right? No, I don't want to do like this, sir. Whatever the data I defined in the app.js, that component data I should access at the end of the page directly without passing drill down the drops. So we are passing in every component. See, for example, you have 4 components here, so you don't have any problem. If you have 30-40 components, you have to do this job same way everywhere, right? But it is not a good idea. So how can we write this logic in 30-40 files? It is called drilling down the props. I don't want to use this. To avoid this problem, we have context API. Whatever the value you have here, save this value in the context. We can access the value directly into the component F, directly into the component E, directly into the component C, directly into the component D. We don't want to use this concept called drilling down the props. So we don't want to use the same. Drill down the props is not required. Okay, let me do one thing, how this is going to be work. First thing, to solve this problem, first of all, we have to create the context API. There is two things. We have a provider and we have a consumer. So the main thing is here in the app.js, we have the value. That value I have to provide to the subcomponents directly. So we don't want to do anything. This is the concept we need to implement here. Let us see how we can implement this functionality in the class component, in the functional component. Both we can see at a time, right? Drilling down the props. We have to avoid that, because if we have 2-3 components, we don't have any problem. When I'm having many number of components, the problem will become. I mean, that is not a problem. It's all about burden. So number of lines of code we have tried and it is going to be incremented. So Now you can check this. To avoid that problem, to avoid that complexity, React is providing context API. First of all, create the context, and you can provide the context, and you can consume the context value. Okay, let me do one thing. What I will do, I'm going to create three components, guys. Let us implement this as a class first. Then we can go for functional also. Okay, let me remove this container and all. Okay, okay. Let me create a component here. Component a.js. Okay, na, this is my file. Like this rfc rce na class component. Okay, let us remove this. Try to see, guys, here I'm just creating the component a, component b, component c. Let the component you can write anything as per the diagram. Component c or component a, b, c, let us assume they are in one order, right? Or else component c na, let me do one thing. Right side part, let me implement this right side part exactly. Whatever the thing we are able to see, this I want to implement here. All right, let us do one thing. Component c, let me name it as a component c. Let me name it as a component c. This is also going to be component c. The file name is also component c. Next one, component e and component f. Yeah, component e, component f. Let me go there. I will create three components. One is component c. One more is going to be component e.js. It is also rfce, rce, sorry. Done. Avoid the default export. Try to see, I'm not writing anything, just observe this process, what I am doing, how we are going to achieve this. This is going to be component f.js, else all done, rsce, component created. Okay, what we need to do here, I'm writing a h1 tag. Now try to see, welcome to user. That's all, I'm not writing anything. Welcome to user. This component is going to be imported into component E. Now try to see. Component E is imported, sorry, component F kada. Component F is going to be imported inside of it. Okay. In this, you can import component E. Understand? COMPONENT, component E I'm importing inside of it. In my app.js, I'm importing component C. Now you can see how the output is going to be coming here. Component 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 C. Oh, sorry, NENT component C now. Yeah, component C is imported. So in component C, what are you having? Component C, you have component E. In component E, what are you having? You have component F. In the component F, you are having some message. That's all. Now you can see, if you can execute this localhost colon 3000, you will get a message. What happened? My God. One minute, let me go to the browser. So this is what we are having. Let me show you the same. How can we declare a variable? Okay, do one thing, guys. Yeah, what I want to do in the app.js, I'm declaring one variable. Okay, const username equal to, I'm passing some value called rom. Can I access this username directly into the component F? Is it possible? It is not possible. Definitely, you know that that is not going to be possible, right? You can go and refresh the page, and you are able to see welcome to user. This is coming from component F actually. So component F is inserted into component E, component E is inserted into component C, component C is inserted into component C. Sorry, app.js, right? This is what we are having. How can I access this data directly into the component here? Can we access this? Can you write me username? No, it cannot give you anything. Maybe you can see it is giving you an error. Username is not defined. So where is username is defined? Username is defined app.js. From this, I want to get it here. The only way, you know, as of now, you can see I'm taking user equal to, try to see. I want to pass app.js. Sorry, not here. Here you can go there. Here I'm going to pass user equal to, I'm going to pass username. This is what you have to do. There is no other way. You pass username. You pass it to component C. In the component C, you have to access it now. This dot props dot user. The same value will be passed to component E. In the component E, again you have to use the same user equal to again this dot props dot user. Like this, you have to pass the data. So now I'm going to, now you can check this. This will become to you this dot props dot user. You can write this. This time you will get the data which is from the app dot. Now you can see, yeah, we are getting the value from app.js to component AF. But this is not the good idea, right? So always we cannot encourage this kind of concept, guys. Here it is not good, and to avoid this problem we have the concept called, right, context API. So to work with the context API, first of all we have to create the context. Okay, let me go and let me remove this, and this is not the correct way. I have to provide the value for each and every component like globally. So first of all we have to create the context. Let me do one thing. What I want to do here, let me create one file, user context.js, user context.js. I'm creating one separate file, guys. Don't worry about this file, user context.js. In this, I'm going to import React first. Import React from React. So React is imported. So here I'm going to create context, React context. Let us take a one variable, user context equal to React dot. You have to save this into one variable actually, React dot create context. This is the thing, create context. So context is created. Once context created, we have to provide by using provider. We have to consume, means I have to get it by using consumer. Let me create two variables for this also. Const user provider equal to user context dot provider, provider provider. Understand, this is the predefined word provider. So we usually create context. This will give you a reference. This will give an instance to you. In this instance, we have provider. Now let us take one more thing. Const user consumer. So where you have to consume the value. CONSUMER consumer equal to user context dot consumer. Now you can see this is the consumer. That is also predefined. So this will create an instance. In this instance, we have consumer, we have provider. Two things are there. I'm taking them into variables. So because we have to reuse wherever we want, right? We don't want to declare them each and everywhere. That's why I'm writing them into a separate file. This we can import. Let us write export here. Export user provider consumer comma user provider. That's all I exported. So what is going to be happen, wherever you need you can import them. Let me come here to my app.js. Here you have this value. This value I have to pass it. So what you need to do, you know, guys, here you have to wrap your component with a user provider, user consumer. First of all, you have to provide the value to app. Where I can provide the value, app.js is the main component. In app.js we can provide the value. In app.js we can provide the value. So if we can provide the value in app.js, that value will available for each and every component. I don't know how many components are there. One component to other one into other one into other. Maybe we have one component merged into other component, but each and every component that is available. Why? Because finally the component should be inserted in the root component. Right now you can see. Now I am going to write something called user provider open close. This is the user provider context. You have to provide the value, whatever the value you want to share to everything. This should be like an element, and it should be wrapped into the every component. It should be wrapped into something like this. So here you have to use value equal to value equal to. Now you have to pass the username. That username is there now, you are passing. Now you provide it to component C. If you provide it to component C, that is automatically available into component E, automatically available into component F, automatically available to some other component also. Wherever you want, that is going to be available, guys. We don't want to do anything here. Now how can we access that value here? You want to access the value now. Now you can see, if you want to access the value, we have consumer. So this is going to be user consumer, consumer, user consumer open consumer close. This will always return a callback function with a parameter. Remember, this is little bit tricky. Check this carefully. And this is the parameter. It will always after a parameter called some name. You can take any parameter. So here we can return the h1 tag. Here you can take, right, welcome to name. That's all. Now you can check this. The value we can able to access here. Are you able to get? Oh, I'm not able to get. What happened? User consumer is imported here. It should be imported, right? Oh my God, it is not imported. User import user consumer from user context. Here also you have to import this. Is it imported? User provider. User provider is imported, right? User provider is imported. User provider. User provider, right? It is imported. Oh, why it is not able to access here? Oh, I think it should be like a root, I believe. Not, we cannot do something. Every component should be available into this only. This should be root component, I'm thinking. Let me check this. User provider. Okay, it is not able to access. Why so? Is it able to access here? User consumer, user consumer. From user context, refresh the page. No, I'm not getting. Let me check. You have any error? I have some errors here. User provider using correct casing. Oh ho ho, use Pascal case. Oh my God. I think the variables you created here, right? We have to use Pascal case only. Pascal case means every word first character should be uppercase. Okay. Let me go to the user context. This is a user context. You should create U capital, user provider, user consumer. Both should be capital. That's the reason it is not working. They're asking us Pascal case, then only this will be work. I forgot that case. You can take user context also capital U, no problem. So user context, I think this is not a problem, but let me take everything into some order. User context, user provider. Okay, now you can go here. You need to make it a user capital U, capital U, capital U. I'm taking like this. Yeah, I think it is enable right now. I think this is the thing we need to take it. Sorry, user consumer, and this is also going to be capital U consumer, capital U consumer. Now then only this is going to be work. I think forget actually. Right. So now you can check this. I think this will be works for us. Only thing, the consumer variable should be capital letter. I mean the variables, user provider, user consumer, they have to be Pascal case. Okay. Now you can see these values you are able to access directly into this component, right? You are able to access directly into the following component, right? So we don't have any problem. This is what exactly, whatever the data you have in that component, that data we can access into this component by using this way. This is also the way of using something. So same concept. Now how can we access the data by using hook? For example, I have one more doubt. If you can provide one more context, then what is going to be happen? I have some other context guys here. Let us go to the user context. You have this context. Okay, react.create context is completed. You may have some other context, right? What is the context here? Let us go and take one context is completed. Const, I'm taking welcome context, something, whatever it may be, you can take it. React.create context. I'm creating one more only. React.create context in this. Okay, this is one more context. Same like you have to provider, you have to consumer. Welcome provider, welcome consumer. Same we have to pass them into the thing guys here, right? So you can check this. This is again you have to create const, two more variables const. You have to write welcome provider pro vidr, welcome provider equal to what is the context we created? Welcome context dot provider. So the same const, one more provider if you want, simply says welcome consumer, consumer, welcome consumer equal to welcome context dot consumer, right? So done. You have to import them here also, right? So now you can see I'm going to welcome consumer. You can write welcome provider, welcome provider, right? These are imported, right? You can come here. If you see the problem here, whatever the provider it may be, we have to take always from the top, right? Now you can check this. We have, okay, let me do one thing. I'm going to take like this error boundary. You can keep always top, no problem. So now you have another other provider. Now how can I add this other provider here? That is a big question for me. So we added one provider like this. That provider value also I have to pass globally. This is component C app.js. You know one thing, you can write welcome provider like this. Welcome provider. Okay, you have to do like this. Welcome provider open, welcome provider close. This is a way you have to do it. Can you see? We have to nest like this, component inside a component, component inside a component. We have user provider. This is also maybe providing some value equal to, let me take this is going to be Teja live. I'm taking something called Teja live. Now this value will be go to the other component, right? Now you can check this. We have imported a welcome provider is imported. Yes, welcome provider also imported. Now you provided Teja live. You want to access this in some other place, right? Now if you want to access here, can you see this is what exactly the complex will become here? Now you can see you have to remove this. All of you try to see one value we access it like this. Now this is user consumer. Again user consumer having user welcome consumer. So in this what you need to do, again you have to take like this. There is no other way. So again you have to come like this. This is going to be user consumer open, sorry, user consumer welcome consumer andi. So welcome consumer kada. So welcome consumer, my god, you have to do like this. Again callback function. Can you see this is look lot of complex, right? Okay, I'm going to return jsx, sorry, return a return return, sorry, it should be a callback function actually. To the callback function institute. So you have to pass something like this. So in this you should return, again return h1 tag. Now you can see welcome to user from inst. This is the way you have to do. This is seriously clumsy and it's not clear also. Then you can check this, both the values may come here. So user is not defined, user is not defined, user a name, sorry, name is the name. The callback function have a parameter called name. Now you can check this. రాలేదే. ఇదిగో phone తీసుకెళ్ళండి. Right, can you see guys here? I'm able to see the data. Welcome to ROM and from live. Can you see? But everything is okay. Providing is okay. We are providing, but we don't have any confusion here. But while fetching data, can you see the complexity? I don't like this, man. So is it looks proper? No. To solve this problem, we have hooks. There is a use context with the same functionality, whatever you did here. Let me write into the component e. So component e is also one component, right? Let us come here. I'm taking one h1 tag. I'm writing component e. I'm writing something called welcome to the username and from the city. I want to get that information. So see the same logic, nothing difference is there guys here. This we access it in component F. Now I'm in the component E. So component E is also is not direct child of the app.js. Component C, in component C we have component E. So now how can we access? Now only thing, you can go to the React. Now I'm going to import use context hook. What is a context hook? Now you can see here we have use context is a hook. So use context, we don't want to create anything guys here. In the use context, we have to pass the context value. What is the context value we have? That context value we have to pass. But remember, use context is only used in functional component, but it is a class component, right? It is a class component. So what I will do, let me do one thing. We cannot access here. It is a class component, right? It should be use context is a hook. Hook is always used in the functional component only. So what we need to do here? So you can do one thing in the component E, component F. This is component F. In the component F, can I load component G, something like this? Okay, let me go here. I'm going to create one component G, NENT, component EFG kada, NENT G.js, but this time I'm creating this as a functional component. See, if it is a functional component, how can we access the context? So this component G is going to be imported into component here. Let us go and check this. Component G is imported here. Sorry. In the component G, I have to access the data only. How can we access the data in the component G? Let us have one h1 tag. I'm writing something called component G. Okay, this is we are in the component G. If you can go and refresh the page and you can check this, I'm able to see component G. But in the component G, how can we access the data? Component G, component F, component E, component C, component app. It was like this. So in this is the functional component, this is the class component, this is the way of accessing data in the class component. And now I will show you how can we access the data into the functional component. Let us see here what I am going to do. First of all, you have to take use context hook and import use the context. Is the hook should be imported. Sorry, use context is the predefined hook. So to this hook, now you can see use context, use context. To this method, we have to pass user consumer, right? So let us take one more. You have to pass welcome consumer. Now directly that's all, Andy. We don't want to do anything. Take them two variables here. Const name is equal to const inst institute is equal to. That's all, Andy. Your task is completed. We can access them directly. See how easy the class component, the functional component is. Name from inst. Can you check this? Component G is printing the value, sir. User context is not defined. Okay, having error. Component G user context is not defined. Is it not defined? Oh my god, what happened? Use context, user context, user context. What is the context we created, Andy? Okay, let me check this. User consumer, user consumer, user consumer. You have to pass the consumers, not providers, I believe. Where is this? We have to consume the value, right? Okay, consumer, user, sorry, Andy. This is what is the component you usually use context, but you can see I have written user. No, use context is a hook, right? To this hook, you have to pass the consumer. The value will automatically available here. Now you can check this. Output will become as we expected. Now you can see which one is easy. Which one is easy? That's what exactly we need to check it. I have an error. Oh, what is this error? But I'm getting data, but I'm having some error in the component. Use context consumer is not supported, may cause bugs, will be removed in future major release. Did you mean to call context instead? Okay, so something like maybe this may be removed maybe in the future. I think we need to check it. Use context. I provided user consumer, so we cannot use like this. Okay, maybe we have to find a solution for it, guys. Here, don't worry, but it will work for you for compatibility purpose. So, and what I need to do, the only thing we need to identify how can we pass it. Let me do one thing. Let me pass user context directly. If I can pass user context directly, what will be happen? In the functional component, this way we cannot use, I believe, in the functional component. The functional component we have to pass directly. I mean, you have to provide directly here and we have to create it, I believe. Functional component like a class component may be vary. I think they need to context. In the user context file, what I did there, let me check this. This is user context. No. Okay, guys, right now, let us go with the same. I will explain you what we need to do for this. It is not an error. We are able to get the data. This is just a warning. calling user context consumer is not supported may cause bugs. Okay, this I will try to tell you in the next session. Okay, let me check this. Instead of they're asking us, instead of use context only, context only you have to provide. Then 1 minute, why should I go only, they're asking to pass me context, right? Let me go to my context. Where is my context here? User context. In this user context, you can pass welcome context also. Is saying that only context, welcome context, and one more is that user context, right? User context. Only context. I'm not providing the variables. User context only. This is. Let me see one thing. What is going to be happen in the functional component? What I will do here? They're asking me to pass only user context. Okay, let me pass only context only here. If I pass context, let me check this. User context only. User context only. Here also welcome context only. Let me check this. Welcome context. So let me remove these two then. Consumer. Maybe they're asking me to context. That's why I pass it context here. Let me check this time. So I'm refreshing the page. Yes, I think this is the solution. We don't want to wait for, right? So we just need to pass the context only, guys, here. If it is a functional component, this is only context. It is a class component, we have to pass something like this. But anyhow, class component way of accessing is completely different. This is the, see the how clumsy this is. If you have 30-40 variables, then see how complex it is. So context is the best thing to work with functional components, guys. Exactly, right? So this is what exactly you can check it, guys, here how we can work with the context API. So only thing the error is saying that you have to pass context only, don't pass the consumer. If we can pass the context, so that we can get the value. This is what they guys are saying that. Okay, na? Right, guys. User context dot, can I pass consumer? Let me check this. Welcome context dot consumer. If I pass, what will be happen? Oh, I'm getting the same error. We cannot pass consumer, just pass the context. Okay, name of the context, if we can pass, that's enough, guys. Yeah, okay, great. So this is all about the context API and its purpose, guys. Yeah, okay, right. In next session we can discuss some other concept, nothing but use reducer hook I have to discuss. So with the use reducer, use context, how we can, that's why I discussed use context first. So maybe later use reducer with use context also we can use. That's the reason we discussed this first. Next session we will discuss about use reducer hook. Okay, right.